Hello everyone, my name is Daily Manhwas and welcome to another video. In this video I will be recapping this manhwa called Zombie King. I hope you enjoy the video. This story begins with the fall of Shin Kong City due to the outbreak of a new virus called the T sequence. To investigate this virus, the Ministry of Defense sent a virology expert and 13 soldiers. Currently, it had been a week since the initial outbreak, and according to the news, the virology expert and the 13 soldiers had been eliminated by the zombies. But in reality, they were still alive, though now only 7 people remained. Our protagonist is Yinan, who was carrying his younger sister, Kayan, on his back. She was the only human unaffected by the virus, and Nan wanted to extract her antibodies to create an antidote to save humanity. The building they were in was invaded by zombies, and the remaining soldiers began to fend off the zombies. A girl escorted Nan to the rooftop. She told him to use the zip line to reach the other building and then head to the Kangjong Bridge, where the entire army was waiting for him. Nan used the zip line, and on the way, his little sister asked him why he had left everyone behind. He responded that they had all sacrificed themselves so he could live. Upon reaching the other building, they encountered a horde of zombies. Nan picked up an axe and began eliminating the zombies one by one. Afterward, his little sister approached to ask if he was okay, and he assured her not to worry as these were only low-level zombies. Now that they were in this building, they needed to go down to the first floor using the elevator, then avoid the zombie tide and make their way to the Kangjong River Bridge. Once they reached the bridge, they would be safe. His little sister, Kayan, gathered her courage and told him that he could use all her blood to save people. As long as she could save many people, she was willing to sacrifice herself. Nan told her she wasn't going to die, as he had sworn not to let anyone harm his little sister. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the soldiers managed to eliminate a group of zombies. The authorities were planning to send bombers to destroy City F along with the survivors because they couldn't risk the T virus being exposed. After several minutes, Nan and his little sister arrived at the bridge, and all the soldiers began aiming their weapons at them. He thought it was a misunderstanding, so he told them he was Yinan, the virologist, and had brought back a live sample of the T virus. He was confident he had found a cure for the virus. According to the leader of the soldiers, the T virus infection would attack him within 3 hours. They couldn't wait that long to verify if he was really infected, and the little girl with him wasn't even wearing a mask. He'd rather kill them by mistake than let them go. Kayan approached Nan and hugged him. A helicopter approached, and the soldiers told him that, according to the information they had obtained, Yinan had died a week ago, and according to the new legal rules, anyone stepping onto the bridge would be shot on sight. The soldiers first eliminated Kang and then Nam. Everything that had happened had been broadcast live by a drone. This transmission had been seen by ordinary people and government advisors. One of the advisors told the others that Nan had the cure and was not infected, so there was no need to eliminate him. The others disagreed, as he had stepped onto the bridge, and according to the new rules, all survivors who came to the bridge had to be eliminated to prevent the virus from spreading. Upon hearing this, many of the advisors voted in favor of eliminating Nan, and due to this order, the soldiers ended his life. They then destroyed the bridge with explosives to prevent zombies from reaching the other side. The next day, crows began to devour Nan's body, but at that moment, he woke up and all his wounds began to heal. His hair changed from black to white, and he was confused because he didn't know how he was still alive despite having his heart torn apart. He quickly concluded that it was thanks to having the same blood as Kayan. Looking around, he saw his sister's body on the ground and quickly approached her to check if she was also alive. After physical death, corneas turned white, pupils dilated fully, but in contrast, Kayan's pupils remained clear, and there were no signs of decomposition. Despite this, she showed no signs of life. At that moment, a passing soldier in a car mocked him for not being able to find someone to bite and left, calling the City F a ghost town. Nan heard what the soldier said despite being far away. Among the debris, he found a cello case and placed his sister's body in it, then headed to City F. That same evening, the government told the citizens that there were no more survivors in the entire city of F, and due to this, the city was going to enter a complete lockdown. An elderly woman began to cry upon knowing that her daughter was still alive and there was no way to save her. Meanwhile, a zombie's body fell into the sea and a fish fed on its flesh. Not far away, some teenagers were camping on the beach. According to the news, the 4-star consortium was going to lock down the entire city and then explode it into pieces to eliminate any remnants of the T virus. Since the virus couldn't spread in the water, one of the teenagers entered the water to catch shrimp using a net. In City F, Nan planned to head to the Gemini Building's laboratory to find a way to save her sister. First, he planned to acquire some weapons. Along the way, he found an axe and used it to eliminate one of the zombies. The zombies began to search for the culprit but didn't attack Nan, as they thought he was one of their own. Afterward, he went to a weapons store and obtained several weapons. Meanwhile, outside, a group of survivors began to eliminate the zombies. While they were fighting, a zombie bit one of the men. The man turned to his boss for help, but instead of assisting him, the boss pushed him into the horde of zombies and escaped with the others. As they fled, they saw Nan coming out of the weapons store. When they saw the color of his hair and his eyes, they knew he wasn't human. So they waited for Nan to get a little further away to attack him from behind using a bow, but just before the arrow could hit, Nan heard the sound of the attack and dodged it. The leader of the group asked Nan why the zombies didn't attack him. Nan quickly realized that the oxygen masks weren't very common, so someone had given these masks to these troublemakers. In the blink of an eye, Nan disarmed the leader and asked him where he had obtained the oxygen masks. The leader revealed that he had traded them for supplies at the city center with the main group. While they were talking, the leader began signaling his men to take advantage of the situation and finish him off. They tried to attack him from behind, but Nan eliminated them in an instant using a submachine gun. Due to the sound of the gunshots, the zombies came and the group of survivors fled. Afterward, Nan headed to the Gemini building. He entered the building and took the elevator to the 60th floor. Upon reaching the 60th floor, he found a zombie devouring the captain's body. Quickly, he picked up an axe from the ground and eliminated the zombies to avenge his death. Upon inspecting his body, he found the building's blueprint. The captain's mission was to destroy a room in this building. Nan thought that room must be related to the T-virus, so he believed he could also find a way to save her sister. However, despite having this mission, the captain decided to resign so they could escape. Escorting Nan out of City F was a false mission. The main mission was to destroy the room. It didn't take long for Nan to realize that this was why the government had sent a team of soldiers with him. Upon reaching the 55th floor, Nan came across a pile of rats' bodies. All the rats had curved wounds on their heads and their brains were missing. He ignored the rat bodies and went to search for the room from the blueprint. After searching for a while, he stumbled upon the body of a scientist named Lancet. He was responsible for removing the brains from the rats. Now he was a zombie. But his infection state was very different from the other zombies because he had bullet holes in his head and had been killed by someone with a weapon. Nan picked up a scalpel from the ground and approached the nearest door. At that moment, he heard 3 heartbeats. Upon opening the door, he encountered 2 mercenaries and a tied-up girl. In an instant, Nan ended the life of the first mercenary. The second mercenary, upon seeing his companion fall, attempted to take the girl's life. Nan realized this and eliminated the mercenary using the submachine gun. The mercenaries wanted to eliminate the woman because she possessed highly valuable information. Nan freed the girl and noticed that behind her was a room filled with explosives. He quickly realized that this was the secret room that the authorities wanted to destroy. Upon entering this room, he found a container filled with rat brains connected to a parrot through a neural connection. This parrot was a biological remote transmitter. The parrot started calling Nan and told him that if he wanted to see the person behind the transmitter, he should head to the Kangjang University laboratory. As he left the room, the girl he had freed earlier picked up a pistol and began to threaten him. However, upon hearing his voice, she realized that he was the academic Yinan. She introduced herself as Chen Yue, a lead researcher at the Country H's Academy of Science. The men who had tried to take her life were mercenaries from Blackwater and City M, and there was only one consortium that could contact these mercenaries. That consortium was the 4-Star Consortium. Upon inspecting the body of one of the mercenaries, Nan found the certificate from the Research Institute. This certificate had the logo of the Yang University Laboratory. Nan asked Chen why the mercenaries had kidnapped her, and she explained that she was the only person with the password to the Kangjang University Laboratory. Even though the password was changed regularly, just before the virus outbreak, she was the last person to enter the laboratory. After the outbreak, she sensed that someone wanted her to be the scapegoat, so for her own safety, she returned to City F. Upon knowing that Nan wanted to investigate this matter, she asked if she could accompany him. The Kangjang University Laboratory was a key facility established in City H. Nan told Chen that if she followed him, a certain death awaited her. He planned to go alone to find out what had happened. Seeing this, Chen shared the password, and in return, Nan provided her with supplies and a weapon to survive the remaining 6 days before the bombing. Upon arriving at the parking, he saw that all the cars in this neighborhood had been vandalized. The laboratory was 2 kilometers away, so he began searching for a functional car. In a nearby alley, a man visited a thug's house to exchange what he had for some food and a mask. The man had kidnapped his wife and wanted to trade her for some food. The thug agreed to the deal and gave him some food and a mask. Later, the woman was locked in a room with other women. In a street in City F, 2 men were discussing where they should go to find supplies. One of the men spotted Nan inspecting the cars, and according to their boss, any man looking for supplies had to be eliminated. So they quickly accelerated the van and headed towards Nan, but he reacted in time and began shooting at them with the submachine gun, seriously injuring them. Afterward, he asked one of them why they had attacked him. The man revealed that their boss had told them that any resident who went out into the street to look for food should be killed. They were responsible for destroying all the cars, and their boss was in the commercial building. Nan took their van and headed towards the Kangjong University laboratory. On the way, he realized he didn't have much fuel, so he changed his plans and headed to the commercial building to get more fuel. Upon arriving at the building, he quickly accelerated and broke the glass, causing the zombies to enter the building. Meanwhile, the organization's boss attempted to sleep with the woman he had exchanged for food. At that moment, one of his subordinates came to tell him that someone had rammed the gate with a car, and now the zombies were getting in. Upon hearing this, he ordered that the women be tied up and used as bait. After several minutes, the zombies reached the women, but just before they could attack, Nan eliminated them. He hid the women in a room to keep them safe from the zombies. Meanwhile, the group of thugs took this opportunity to head towards a car to escape. But Nan appeared in front of them with a horde of zombies and ended the lives of all of them. Then he got into the car, and the girl who had been kidnapped by the thugs thanked him for saving them. Meanwhile, the government advisors wanted to bomb certain buildings, such as the Kangjong University Biological Laboratory in City F, to prevent the source of the virus infection from leaking. But not everyone agreed, as it was too hasty to suddenly advance the bombing from 6 days to 1 day. So they started a vote, and most of the advisors agreed, except for the Hyundai Foundation representative. Since according to him, it was not reasonable to make this decision, as there was still the possibility that there could be survivors. Upon hearing this, the representative of the 4-star group stood up and told the others that the expert team from the 4-star consortium had reviewed the city and had not found any survivors. The representative of the Hyundai Foundation told him that the experts from the 4-star consortium naturally produced the results that their representative wanted. Upon hearing this, more representatives turned against it. Now that the votes for and against were equal, the bombing was put on hold. The country's director ordered the representative of the 4-star group to send drones to survey and confirm that there were no more survivors before proceeding with the destruction and reconstruction of the city. On that same day, many drones arrived in City F, and upon seeing the drones, the remaining survivors were happy and tried to get the attention of the drones. But instead of helping them, the drones began to eliminate the remaining survivors. In total, the drones eliminated 2,857 people. One of the subordinates of the representative told him that the survivors had many relatives in City F, and those relatives were now protesting in front of the government building. He didn't know if they were really doing the right thing. The representative told him not to dwell on this matter too much, as they were doing this to eliminate the virus. Once they destroyed City F, they would be considered saviors. He ordered his subordinate to go personally and take care of the complete destruction of the biological laboratory, and also to send someone to pay a little visit to the representative of the Hyundai Foundation, since he didn't like the behavior he had at the meeting. Tonight, the King Jae-yang laboratory was going to be erased from the face of the earth. Meanwhile, Nan finally reached the entrance of the Underground Institute. This place hid a secret that the ministry wanted to destroy, and after several minutes, Chen also arrived at the institute in a car, and as she approached the laboratory's entrance, she felt a deep fear because of his memories. She began to have a headache and knew that her memories had been erased, so she thought it was better to hide instead of going down the stairs. In one of the rooms of the Underground Institute, a group of survivors was being led by a girl with a gun. Along the way, one of the boys accidentally dropped a test tube, but just before it could hit the ground, the girl stopped it and told the others to be more careful. As far as she knew, the center of this place was an ecological self-recycling experiment, so there were enough resources for them to live for a year even though the roads were blocked. They had a rescue team that would be back soon to pick them up. At that moment, a dog infected by the virus appeared in front of them. Nan entered the underground laboratory, and a camera recognized him and opened the door for him. He was being remotely monitored by the same person who had sent him a message through the parrot. After walking for a while, Nan reached the same room as the group of survivors, who were frightened by the mutant dog. In the blink of an eye, the dog tore off the arm of one of the survivors. Nan quickly appeared and eliminated the dog using a dagger. He noticed that the girl had the laboratory's logo on her badge, so he thought she must know what had happened. At that moment, more mutant dogs appeared and tried to attack Nan, but they were taken out. Then, they moved to another room, and the girl asked Nan if he could protect them in exchange for the location of an ecological base with many resources. Thanks to one of the diaries, Nan discovered that the T-virus infection had been in this laboratory for a long time. The longer a subject was infected, the deeper the mutation became. The zombie dogs had amazing abilities because they had been infected for a long time and were still in the initial experimental phase. The subsequent development in humans should not be confused with that of the dogs. So, there was no need to destroy City F to prevent this. Since the senior managers and executives were afraid of the virus, this could be the perfect time to get his revenge. Nan agreed to cooperate with her, but on the condition that from now on, they had to listen to him and follow his lead, or else they would die. After this, they headed to the main laboratory. Along the way, the girl asked Nan if it was true that they were going to bomb City F even though there were many survivors. According to what Nan had heard from the soldiers, the city was going to be bombed in a week because the survivors were no longer considered human by the senior managers. As they proceeded down the path, the doors began to open automatically. Nan told the girl that someone was watching them in the central area. The girl thought it was impossible since she had been the one to activate the emergency security switch in the central area before the accident, so now there was a vacuum and there couldn't be any living beings. After several minutes, they reached another room and the door opened again. Nan decided to go in first to check the area, but as he entered the room, the door closed behind him. The mysterious man behind the security cameras turned out to be a brain in a vat. Meanwhile, outside, drones began to bombard the exterior of the institute, and amid the explosions, the survivor rescue team managed to enter. They realized that someone else had entered the underground laboratory, and as they descended the stairs, they saw the silhouette of someone. This silhouette belonged to Chen. Upon seeing her, the leader of the survivor rescue team realized she was a researcher from the institute, so he reassured her, telling her not to be afraid as they were the survivor search and rescue team. They quickly entered the laboratory as the drones were approaching. Along the way, they saw all the bodies of the mutants that had been eliminated by Nan. Seeing so many mutant dogs, Chen didn't know if Nan was still alive. The leader told her that the dogs infected with the T virus had killed many of his men in a single night, so it was impossible for Nan to survive. She was frustrated since Nan had managed to survive 2 armed mercenaries, whereas a task like this was impossible for a normal person. Inside the laboratory, the brain told Nan that he knew about the bridge incident and also knew that the senior managers were massacring the survivors of City F like ants. Immediately, Nan realized that the brain was one of the first infected by the T virus. He asked him why he had brought him to the laboratory. The brain wanted Nan to help him restore a body for him since in his current state, he was worse off than disabled individuals. In exchange for rebuilding his body, he was willing to revive Nan's little sister. Nan didn't believe this, so the brain told him that he had been gathering information about the T virus, and the information he had was essential for his sister to be revived. Nan approached and revealed his own conditions in return. Anyone who worked with the brain would become the primary target for the H country's search, which posed a significant danger. If Nan worked with the brain, both he and his little sister would be in danger, and the resurrection of his sister would be hindered. So he thought that if he didn't take the brain outside, his experiment would succeed. Upon hearing this, the brain asked about Nan's conditions. Nan revealed that the first condition was that he wanted to conduct research on the brain to understand how special it was, as he believed there must be important information in its memory, and by accessing its memory fragments, he could also determine if it was lying. The second condition was that he wanted his sister to be resurrected as quickly as possible as compensation for putting them in danger. The third condition was that he wanted help in researching a way to inoculate the T virus to allow it to evolve while maintaining intelligence. He planned to use the survivors of the city to build a biochemical body for the T virus, intending to use the survivors to counter the senior managers. At that moment, the brain realized it had found an extraordinary person, so it agreed, but with the condition that Nan must help it rebuild its body. Nan was afraid to let it obtain a body because it was like releasing a demon, so he thought it was better to delay the process of rebuilding its body for as long as possible. Nan told it that if it tried to deceive him, he would throw it into the depths of the sea to leave it in total darkness and solitude. This was a slow death and was 1,000,000 times more horrible than the physical death for the brain. Nan left the room with the brain container, and he sensed danger and told them to remain silent because there were drones equipped with missiles outside. The door of the underground institute could not withstand that kind of firepower, so he told them to go to the deepest laboratory, which was nuclear-proof. As they headed to the deepest laboratory, the brain began to sense that a group of 6 men and a woman had reached the laboratory door. Nan thought it was Chen, so he told him to open all the doors in their path. Using his powers, the brain began to open all the doors. The drones began to bombard, and Chen and the rescue group began to open the door of the underground institute. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't decipher the password. Still, the captain gave a strong punch to the door, and suddenly the door opened, and they all entered. Upon entering, all the other doors began to open. Seeing this, the rescue group thought they were having a lot of luck. However, Chen realized it wasn't luck but knew that Nan was behind this. In City F, the drones also began to bombard everything, and among the debris, there was a hidden girl. A drop of zombie blood fell on the girl's arm and started mutating until it caused an explosion. the girl awakened a new power and she changed completely. Then, she emerged from the rubble. Upon detecting a human, the drones attempted to attack her, but with a glance, she eliminated the drones using her new powers. In the underground laboratories, Nan connected the brain to a cerebral research team and started experimenting, causing him a headache. According to the brain, the drones belonged to the 4 Stars Consortium. Nan asked if this laboratory had also been constructed by them. The brain informed him that it had accessed the drone's database but couldn't find anything related to this laboratory. The 4 Stars Foundation was the most powerful organization in Country H and was kept secret at all times. They even had a complete cerebral research team. The person who had built this laboratory was not an ordinary person. Using the brain, Nan created a combination of antibodies and the T virus called the G virus. This new virus didn't produce the same negative effects on the human brain as the T virus. The G virus could accelerate evolution, unlock the human genome, and allow infected individuals to develop supernatural abilities. Nan thought he could use it to resurrect his sister. The brain warned him that once the genome was unlocked, the human body might not withstand the immense power and could collapse. However, Nan was willing to use it because if he could keep a person subjected to all the mutations alive, they might be able to make the body withstand without collapsing. The brain started looking for a test subject, and after a while, it found a peculiar zombie in the neighborhood. In Country H, the 4 Stars group called a press conference. They showed the citizens how the rescue team had gone to look for survivors in City F. The group's representative stated that they had used more than 2,500 search and rescue drones, and after 12 hours of searching, they hadn't found any survivors. He apologized to everyone, and many people began to question why they were wasting resources searching for survivors when the search experts had already declared that there were no survivors in City F. Seeing this, the representative began to cry and told them that from now on, the search and rescue mission would stop and the reconstruction of the city would begin. With these words, he won the hearts of the people. However, at that moment, a citizen climbed onto the stage and told him not to abandon the search because his girlfriend was still in City F. The citizens were not pleased with the citizen who had taken the stage, and among the crowd was an elderly woman who didn't know what had happened to her daughter. The subordinate of the 4 Stars group representative told him that after the announcement this afternoon, the families of the survivors had disappeared and the public supported the plan for the reconstruction of City F. He also informed him that the King Jong University laboratory had already been reduced to rubble, and now only the cleanup of the surroundings remained. The representative ordered him not to leave anyone alive and to destroy the data storage points in City F. In the underground laboratory, the brain had detected a small girl of the same age as her sister. Now that there was a chance, Nan planned to capture the living mutant to make a new optimization in the G virus. Despite the drones outside, Nan was willing to take the risk because he couldn't allow her to be eliminated. She was currently in the basement of a public housing complex in the university city. Since Nan had T-virus antibodies in his body, and his physique had evolved to the point where he was now stronger than an average person, he had planned to inject himself with the G-virus. The brain tried to warn him that if he injected the virus, the infection process would be very painful, and if it failed, his body would explode into pieces. Despite knowing this, Nan was willing to take the risk, so he went to an isolated chamber so that the energy from the G-virus wouldn't affect the brain. He injected the virus into his neck, and his body began to react to the virus. His screams reached the rescue team, and they began to follow the sounds. After a few minutes, they arrived at the room and encountered the girl who had a gun. Chen asked her about Nan, and she guided them to the laboratory where the brain was located. She explained that the brain was not a bad guy because it had brought them to the underground facilities and had been the one to open the doors for them. Upon hearing this, the leader of the rescue group thought that all the zombie dogs had been killed by the brain. The girl revealed that even though the zombie dogs could massacre an entire team of survivors with weapons, Nan had eliminated them using only a dagger. At that moment, the door to the isolated chamber began to open, and the high-energy reaction alarm started to sound. The girl approached the brain and asked for an explanation. The brain informed them that Nan had injected himself with the G virus, which was a new type of virus that Nan had researched using the T virus. The captain of the rescue group intended to kill him since he was an infected person, and sooner or later he would become a zombie. Slowly, the door opened and Nan emerged from the isolated chamber. The captain and his men began to shoot at him, but in the blink of an eye, Nan dodged the bullets and disarmed them. Now, the quality indicators of his body were above the ordinary, and as the infection deepened, his physical abilities would continue to increase. The brain was curious, so it asked if he had awakened any powers. Nan explained that due to the antibodies, the G virus in his body had a lower level of cell binding. Currently, only 30% of his cells had been modified, but after the G virus multiplied and transformed all his cells, he would awaken a power. Chen asked Nan if he planned to inject them as well. He couldn't stand idly by, as he had come to save people. Nan told her that if he were her mentor, the first lesson he would teach her would be to resist. He advised her not to follow his path, as those who resist only die with dignity. These words moved Chen, and now she was willing to help him with injections of the G virus. The moment she had seen the drones, she realized they had been abandoned by Country H, so now their only option was to stay by Nan's side. Nan approached her and told her she was braver than he thought. Now, they all had only one choice to survive. It wouldn't be long before Nan could improve the G virus so that ordinary people could tolerate it. Since the G virus improved physical condition, he intended to rely on the virus to unite all the survivors so they could rebel against Country H together. The survival rate of G virus infection was 80%. The captain thought this probability was not a bad bet, so he told the others that when the first injection was developed, he would be the first to step forward. Upon hearing his words, the others also agreed to use the injection. They were currently in the central laboratory. Nan started walking towards the exit and asked the brain in the tank for the exact location of the mutant. The brain began to think and informed him that the mutant was in the basement of apartment number 13, on the outskirts of the university area, and also revealed that it was not wandering aimlessly in that area. The girl approached Nan and explained that she was very familiar with the location of that building, so she asked if she could go with him. Upon hearing these words, the brain stared at her and recommended her to not do so, as the more people there were, the more exhausting it would be for everyone. The girl revealed to the brain that the roads in that area were complicated and it was very easy to get lost if they didn't pay attention. She also added that she could find the shortest route. The girl looked at Nan and asked him to trust her. Nan decided not to listen to her, and seeing that he was ignoring her, she asked him that if she was in danger, they could prioritize the mutant samples over her life. The brain stared at her again and asked if she was forcing them to take her with them. Just before the girl could respond, Nan told her she could come with them. He extended his hand towards her and asked her to hand over the weapon. The girl handed him the weapon, and they both began to walk. Along the way, Nan advised the girl to move quickly and not fall behind. After several minutes, they reached the laboratory ventilation system. They both crouched on the floor. While Nan was holding the ventilation duct door, he explained to the girl that all the exits of the laboratory were destroyed, but luckily, this ventilation duct was intact. He also revealed that they were going to exit through the ventilation duct. Nan firmly grabbed the ventilation duct door and easily removed it. Then, he placed the brain inside the ventilation duct and told the girl that he would go first. Nan also entered the ventilation duct and asked the girl to follow him closely. The girl approached the entrance and replied that she would enter. They both entered the ventilation duct. While Nan was holding the brain in one hand, he looked at the girl and asked her to stay close to him. They began to advance through the duct, and along the way, the girl asked Nan what they should do now if City F had been completely abandoned. She also added that the G virus he had developed was powerful, but wondered if it would be able to deal with firearms. Nan calmly responded that the updated version of the G virus would allow the infected to evolve with different abilities after their initial infection. Upon hearing this, the girl asked if the updated version of the G virus would make the evolution stronger. Nan looked at her and replied yes, and also explained that besides that, the living mutant they were looking for should also have special abilities. As they were passing through the ventilation duct, the girl accidentally cut her cheek with a sharp piece of metal and started bleeding. However, she quickly wiped away the blood and then asked Nan if they would all get their own abilities after being infected. Nan affirmed that they would, and also explained that once the updated version of the G virus was developed, the abilities of the infected would strengthen. He also revealed to the girl that they might even acquire a second or third ability. After several minutes of crawling through the ventilation duct, smoke suddenly began to fill the air. As the girl inhaled the smoke, she closed her eyes and began to cough. She asked Nan if they were close to the exit, but Nan didn't respond. Seeing this, the girl called out to him again. When she opened one of her eyes, she saw that he was standing still and not saying anything. In front of Nan was the exit of the ventilation duct, but it was covered in vines with thorns. After a few seconds, the smoke started to dissipate, revealing the entrance. Upon seeing the thorny vines, the girl started screaming and warned Nan to be careful because what was in front of them were snakes. Nan reassured the girl and told her that they weren't snakes, but rather a mutant plant blocking the exit of the ventilation duct. Nan examined the thorny vines and explained to the girl that the veins on the leaves were Drosera capensis, a carnivorous plant. Nan thought to himself that the leaves of Drosera capensis would curl inward when damaged. He stared at the vines and thought that if he could grab the stem while the plant contracted, maybe he could escape the duct with the girl. He turned back and asked the girl to grip his leg tightly as they were going to exit the ventilation duct. The girl was somewhat surprised to hear Nan's words, but still decided to trust him. So, with one hand, Nan grabbed onto one of the thorny vines, and with the other hand, he pulled out his knife. He concentrated and then forcefully drove the knife into the thorny vine, then looked at the exit and saw the other thorny vines start to move. Within seconds, all the thorny vines began to retreat, and upon seeing this, Nan quickly turned to the girl and asked her to hold onto his leg tightly. Nan held the brain in the container in one hand, and with the other hand, he grabbed the thorny vine, which started to retreat rapidly towards the exit. The girl quickly grabbed onto Nan's leg, and after several seconds, they saw a light at the end of the ventilation duct. Both quickly realized it was the way out. At the same time, the mutant plant exited the ventilation duct and started to flee. Nan and the girl exited the ventilation duct along with the thorny vines, but now they were in the air. Due to the immense force with which they had exited, the brain container slipped from Nan's grasp and started to fall rapidly towards the ground. Seeing this, Nan realized that the brain was in danger as it wasn't falling towards the ground, but instead heading straight into the mutant plant's mouth. The brain started to cry out of fear and begged Nan to come rescue it. He quickly took out his knife and in the blink of an eye, chopped the mutant plant into pieces. Then he grabbed the girl and landed on the ground, while the mutant plant slowly fell behind them. The girl managed to grab the brain container, who had its eyes shut due to fear. At that moment, several drones started to approach the area. Upon seeing the drones, the three couldn't help but stand there, watching without doing anything, as the drones began to bombard the area, creating explosions and fire everywhere. Upon witnessing this terrifying scene, the girl thought that the city was going to end up in hell. At the same time, in the Parliament of Country H, several representatives from different countries came, and among them were the representative of Country M and the representative of Country H. The representative of Country H gave a speech informing everyone that the council had approved a resolution for human security, and also revealed to them that in 3 days, a massive bombing would take place in City F to completely destroy the T virus. Upon hearing this speech, everyone present in the room started applauding. Seeing this, the representative of Country H looked at the representative of Country M and told him that now everyone could be at ease. The representative of Country M started applauding and then looked at the representative of Country H and thought that in order to maintain their position, they truly were obedient. At the same time, drones began bombing various areas of City F, creating immense chaos. While Nan and the girl were staring at the smoke from the explosions, Nan told her that soon all of City F was going to look like this. After several minutes, they reached an apartment building, and Nan revealed to the girl that the mutant they were looking for was in this apartment. Nan looked at the girl and asked her to lead him to the apartment. Along the way, the girl asked Nan if he believed they would survive the 3 days before the drones completely bombed the city. Nan replied that of course, but he also added that they still had to leave City F to see it. At the same time, on the banks of the nocturnal King Jiang River, the corpses of mutated zombies reached the shore where the mutant algae began to enter their bodies, gradually bringing them back to life. Gradually, each of the zombies infected by the mutant algae started to regain life. Until several hours later, all the corpses of the zombies infected by the mutant algae came back to life and started advancing towards the beach. At the same time, downstream at the locks, the mutant algae began to climb up the lock's wall, causing the alarm system to start ringing to inform all the workers about the detection of a live contamination source. Gradually, more algae started to climb up the lock's wall, causing the alarm system to warn the workers about system overload. After several minutes, the algae crossed the walls of the locks, causing the system to start sparking with overload. At the same time, in the luxurious mansion by the river in City F, where a private party was taking place, one of the men raised his glass and told his friends that the 4-star consortium was finally going to blow up City F. The man also added that he was quite irritated because the D city was upstream and he couldn't even sleep well due to the sound of the explosions. One of his friends informed him that an expert named Yinan had said that the virus would spread throughout the world. He also added that the virus hadn't even left a single city yet. His friend stared at him and told him that he wasn't an expert, but just a fraud. Then everyone started enjoying the party, but a few minutes later, the lights went out, surprising everyone. The man turned around and asked the other guests who had turned off the electricity switch. The man decided to get up from his chair and worried that it wasn't a malfunction, as he had paid a lot of money to rent this place. The man began to walk and feeling disappointed, he decided to go check it out, gradually advancing through the electrical circuit. After several seconds, he saw something that left him completely terrified. In front of him was a bunch of zombies who slowly began to notice his presence. The man quickly turned around and started trembling at the sight of so many zombies. All the zombies started chasing him, and as he fled, he informed the other guests about the appearance of the undead. At that moment, one of the zombies bit him hard on the neck, causing him to fall to the ground. Seeing this scene, 2 men who were nearby also started running and screaming, warning the others about the zombie invasion of the mansion. Several zombies started feasting on the corpse of the man who had rented the mansion, while others began chasing the remaining guests. At the same time, in the university area of City F, Nan and the girl arrived at the apartments where the mutant was located. The girl peered around a corner, After checking the area, she stealthily started moving towards an alley. After several minutes, she returned to Nan with a frightened expression, informing him that this area was full of zombies. At that instant, a zombie appeared behind the girl and started advancing at full speed. Nan quickly noticed the presence of the zombie, and just before the zombie could attack the girl, Nan intervened and in the blink of an eye, decapitated the zombie, leaving both the brain in the container and the girl speechless. Nan looked at the girl and calmly asked her to be more careful, and also advised her to only shoot if it was absolutely necessary. Nan and the girl took out their guns and began to advance stealthily. In the street in front of them, there were 2 drones monitoring the area. Nan informed the girl that across this street was the public rental housing, and the building they were looking for was at the western edge. While Nan held the knife in one hand and the container with the brain in the other, he explained to the girl that there was an unusually high number of drones in the area, so he concluded that something must have happened. The girl, a bit confused by Nan's conclusion, asked him if he could see what was going on over there. Nan's eyes started to sparkle as he explained that there was a swarm of drones in that area, and he also asked if there was any other route. The girl pointed to the alley behind them and told Nan that they could only go around from the outside of the university campus, but she added that this path would be much longer. Nan stared at the alley and told the girl that they couldn't do that because there was psychic interference using abilities to disrupt the manned drones. He thought that this was the only way they could get out without any issues. He also explained that if the distance increased, it was possible that there wouldn't be enough nourishing liquid for the brain. Upon hearing this, the girl became alert and replied that they should then take this street, and if they encountered the swarm of drones, they should simply go through it directly. She also asked Nan not to worry about her if anything were to happen. Nan began to follow the girl and asked her to put away her gun since it was possible that they might face a difficult confrontation later where she would truly need to shoot. Hearing this, the girl started to doubt him. At the same time, in an apartment where there were some zombies, in one of the apartments, the mutant little girl was sitting next to a zombie's corpse, which she had killed using the tentacles that emerged from her body. The little girl had a radio in her hand. She turned on the radio and heard that City F no longer had survivors, so in 3 days the 4 Stars conglomerate was going to devastate City F with explosives. Upon hearing this news, the little girl became furious and broke the radio into pieces with her hand. Then she began to levitate in the air using her tentacles and thought about killing the bad things. She left the apartment and thought again about killing the bad things. At that moment, she abruptly stopped and turned around because she noticed something. She extended her tentacles and stuck them into the building, being able to sense the presence of mutants. She thought they were comrades with powerful abilities. Without hesitation, she entered another apartment and jumped out the window. At the same time, on the street of the food stalls, Nan, the brain, and the girl were surrounded by a horde of zombies. Nan and the girl pulled out their weapons, and slowly the zombies began to approach them. Nan stood back to back with the girl and immediately changed his expression, preparing to fight against the horde of zombies. Nan looked at the girl and asked her to look for an opportunity to escape quickly and also asked her to follow closely behind him. Without a second thought, the girl agreed, and at that moment, one of the zombies began to charge at her at high speed, causing her to point her knife in the direction of the zombie to protect herself. But at that moment, just before the zombie could attack, Nan turned around and cut its neck using the knife, leaving the girl and the brain speechless. Seeing that their comrade had fallen, 3 zombies started to approach them. But just before they could do anything, Nan used the knife and ended their lives with a few swift cuts. Then he turned around and ordered the girl to run. Both of them started running, and the horde of zombies began to chase them. Upon seeing this, the girl pulled out her gun and turned around, then she fired 3 shots, but the shots didn't kill the zombies. She started running again and informed Nan that she only had 9 bullets left. While Nan looked at his knife, he told the girl that these zombies seemed to be getting stronger. At the same time, some zombies began to approach a convenience store, causing all the zombies in the area to also approach the convenience store. While both of them were running, the girl informed Nan that the zombies were gathering there, and she also revealed that there were still survivors upstairs. Immediately, Nan stopped and decided to go up to the first floor first to then decide what to do. On the first floor, there were 3 survivors who were very scared. By chance, the girl and the boy looked out the window, and at that moment, Nan and the girl broke the window and entered the room, leaving the 3 survivors surprised and a little scared. Seeing the expression on the survivors' faces, Nan reassured them, informing them that he could take them to a safe place, and he also asked them to follow his instructions if they wanted to survive. At that moment, one of the zombies broke the door into pieces and entered the room, advancing towards the 3 survivors. Seeing the zombie, one of the survivors panicked and thought out loud that they were all going to die now. But to his surprise, in the blink of an eye, Nan stabbed the zombie in the neck with his knife, ending its life in seconds, leaving the 3 survivors impressed. All the zombies in the area reached the convenience store and began pushing the window glass. Due to the number of zombies, the window glass couldn't hold up anymore and shattered, allowing all the zombies to enter the convenience store. Nan heard the sound of the glass breaking and quickly asked the girl to take all the survivors to the rooftop with her, revealing that the zombies had entered the building, leaving the girl surprised. She didn't hesitate for a second and decided to do what he had asked. In a matter of seconds, the zombies reached the room where Nan was waiting for them with a submachine gun. Slowly, the zombies began to enter the room, and upon seeing this, Nan decided to pull the trigger and started shooting at the entrance. After taking the survivors to the rooftop, the girl went out the window and asked Nan to hurry up. Slowly, while shooting, he started backing up towards the window where the girl was helping the last survivor climb up. On the other side of the building, slowly, the zombies started piling up on top of each other. At that moment, one of the zombies climbed up to the rooftop, leaving the girl and the survivors terrified. One of the survivors thought their end was near, but at that moment, Nan appeared and stabbed the zombie in the head, thus ending its life. Then he also climbed up to the rooftop and pulled his knife out of the zombie's head, causing it to fall to the ground. Nan couldn't help but stare at the corpse of the zombie he had just killed. The girl asked everyone to start running as they needed to get out of here quickly. Everyone listened to her and started running. After running for several minutes, the girl saw the end of the building's roof, which initially confused her. But once she reached the end, she was speechless. After several seconds, the others also arrived and the girl informed them that there was no way out. The nearest building's roof was several meters away, so the girl looked down and saw that the floor was filled with zombies. Suddenly, a drone arrived in the area and, upon detecting the girl, marked her as the target. Seeing this, the girl panicked and warned the others about the appearance of the drone. Nan picked up a stone and stared at the drone, then gained momentum and threw it with all his strength, causing the stone to penetrate the drone, surprising everyone once again. He informed the others that the drones had discovered them. At that moment, everyone looked down and saw the zombies raising their hands to the sky as if they wanted to catch something. Nan immediately realized the situation and told the girl that something was not right. Suddenly, sharp tentacles struck the roof and the floor, destroying everything below. When Nan and the girl looked up to the sky, they saw the mutant girl flying through the air thanks to the sharp tentacles. The mutant girl showed no emotion and started staring at them. Nan also stared at the mutant girl and immediately felt tense because he realized that the mutant girl had a very high level of mutation. He looked at the brain in the container and asked if this mutant girl was the mutant organism he had been talking about. Seeing that the brain did not respond, he called again and upon closer inspection, realized that it was sleeping due to excessive use of its supernatural abilities. Nan looked at the mutant girl and asked her if she could understand what he was saying. Deep down, he didn't know if she conversed intelligence. He thought that if they couldn't communicate with her, they would have to subdue her by force. The mutant girl stared at Nan and told him that he had killed someone. She also added that there was a lot of blood smell on his hands, and for that reason, she knew he had killed someone. Upon hearing what the mutant girl was saying, the survivors became confused and terrified, while Nan quickly began to wonder what she was saying. Nan replied to the mutant girl that they now lived in a post-apocalyptic world, and also revealed the truth by explaining that the people who had survived so far probably had their hands stained with various human lives. At that moment, the mutant girl responded to Nan that no, then she pointed to the girl and explained to Nan that she was referring to her. Upon hearing this, the girl became somewhat confused. The mutant girl assumed an offensive stance and told Nan that her companion had killed someone and that's why she now considered her a bad person. The mutant girl activated her powers and attacked the girl using sharp tentacles. After a few seconds, the girl, realizing that the attacks had not reached her, decided to open her eyes and was amazed to see that Nan had saved her by catching the sharp tentacles with his hands. Nan held the tentacles firmly and then told the mutant girl that he couldn't deny that her companion had killed people, so he also asked her how she could judge who was good and who was bad just because of that. The mutant girl hugged herself and began to say that she wanted to kill the evildoers. Then she attacked Nan, now also considering him a bad person for helping the girl. The mutant girl's sharp tentacles impacted the ceiling and floor of the building, separating Nan and the girl from the rest of the survivors. The girl was terrified at the sight of the mutant girl's power. Nan assumed a defensive pose and tensed, thinking that they couldn't go on like this or else they would all die. Nan quickly began to move towards the mutant girl, then gathered momentum and clenched his fist, channeling all his power into it. Then, he aimed towards the direction of the mutant girl and used his power, causing her to be thrown several meters back, leaving a trail of destruction in her path. Nan quickly turned around and asked the girl to escape fast. He also asked her to take the survivors with her and to take his little sister and the brain with her. The girl looked at the brain container and the cello case and started to hesitate if she should really escape. Seeing this, Nan urged her to take advantage of this moment and flee as soon as possible. However, at that moment, the sharp tentacles controlled by the mutant girl attacked him from behind, piercing his abdomen. Then the tentacles took Nan's body away, leaving the girl unable to do anything but watch. The mutant girl threw Nan's body into the sky, causing it to crash back to the ground several seconds later. The mutant girl took the opportunity of Nan being defenseless on the ground to attack again. But at that moment, she was somewhat surprised by what her eyes were seeing. Nan rose up with his body glowing green, and with a smile, he pulled out the sharp tentacle from his chest and told the mutant girl that she was very special. He also revealed that he knew her body was compatible with the virus. Tension filled the air as the mutant girl and Nan stared at each other. At that moment, a drone started recording the mutant girl. At the same time, the assistant from the 4-star consortium came to the representative's office and showed him the drone footage of City F. Upon seeing the mutant girl, the representative was somewhat shocked, as it had only been a few days and something like this had already appeared in City F. His assistant also informed him of the loss of communication with a residential area next to the river in City F and asked if they should investigate the area. The representative closed his laptop, then stared at his assistant and told him that the most important thing now was to expedite the approval process to purchase incendiary bombs from Country M. Then he also asked his assistant not to waste time elsewhere. His assistant agreed to his request, and the representative began to smile, revealing that only those with power could become saviors of this world. This is the end of the video. If you want to see the part 3, then don't forget to subscribe and comment Mutant Girl.